So, my people, what's happening right now around Sowore is something that has got everyone talking again. You know, when that kind of name shows up in the news, it's always something serious. Sowore, the activist, the journalist, the man who always speaks about government, justice, and freedom, yes, that same Sowore, has once again found himself in the middle of a storm. The police have come out boldly to say that Sowore broke the law, and because of that, he must face charges. Now, this is not one of those usual social media talks. This one is real. Please, before I go deep, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That's the best way to support us so we can keep giving you updates like this one. Now, let's talk about what really happened. So sometime this week, there was a protest in Abuja, the Off Free Nnamdi Kanu Now protest. The people who came out said they wanted to push the call for the release of Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, who has been in detention for a long time. Now, this protest was meant to be peaceful, just people showing their voice, holding placards, and calling for justice. But it seems things didn't go as expected. According to reports, Sowore was part of the protest, and not just that, aside last said, the police are claiming that he was among those who led the protesters into what they call a restricted area around Abuja. The police said they already had a court order that warned against holding any kind of protest in certain sensitive zones, like near the National Assembly, the Presidential Villa, or the force headquarters. They said they made it clear that anyone who entered those areas would be breaking the law. Now, the police are saying that despite that warning, Sowore still led people there. They are accusing him of disobeying the law and violating a valid court order. They have already arrested several people who were part of the same protest. I think around 13 persons. And they said those ones mentioned Sowore's name as the person who encouraged or mobilized them. The police are now saying that if the other people have been arrested and will face the law, Sowore will not be exempted. They said it would be unfair to punish the small ones and allow the leader to walk free. Please, while we continue, kindly like this video and subscribe. I really appreciate all the support you're giving to this channel. Now, let's continue. After that protest, Sowore showed up at the Federal High Court in Abuja. And that was when the big surprise came. While he was attending another case, which happens to be Nnamdi Kanu's trial, the police arrested him right there inside the court premises. Many people were shocked because they said, wait, how can someone be arrested right inside the courtroom? Sowore's lawyer, Deji Adeyanju, came out to say he was not even allowed to see his client after the arrest. He said the police told him they were acting on direct orders from the FCT Commissioner of Police. The police, on their part, confirmed that Sowore was in their custody and that he would be arraigned in court very soon. They fixed October 29th as the date when Sowore and others, including Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer, his brother, and some of those protesters, would appear in court to face the charges. The force public relations officer, Benjamin Hundeyin, came out publicly to say that Sowore had to answer for his actions because no one is above the law. But here's where things begin to get more interesting. Sowore's camp is saying something completely different. They said the police are twisting the story. According to them, the injunction the police are talking about had already expired before the protest took place. Sowore's side said there was no valid court order stopping the protest and that they didn't go near any restricted area. They are calling the arrest unlawful and politically motivated. You see, this kind of back and forth is not new when it comes to Sowore and the authorities. This man has been arrested many times before. Remember the Revolution Now protests back in 2019. So for his supporters, this looks like another attempt to silence him. But the police say it's not political at all. They say it's about enforcing the law. Now, the question many Nigerians are asking is, was the arrest fair? Was it right to arrest him inside the court? And did the police actually follow due process? Because even if someone breaks the law, there's still a proper way to handle it. Please, if you're following this gist and you're enjoying it, don't forget to like this video right now. Drop a comment and subscribe. Let's grow this family together.
Now, as we continue, the police also made it clear that they want to set an example. They said you can't just go against a court order and then expect nothing to happen.
But human rights groups and some lawyers are saying that arresting someone inside the courtroom is not the right example either. They said that kind of action sends a bad signal about how much the country respects the rule of law and the independence of the judiciary. They believe that if Sowore was to be arrested, it could have been done outside the court or through a proper summons, not inside the court itself. Meanwhile, Sowore's supporters are already speaking up online. They are calling for his release and saying that what's happening is an attempt to intimidate voices that speak against the government. Some people also fear that this could discourage other young activists from coming out to protest in the future. But let's be honest, this whole thing is deeper than just one protest. It's about how Nigeria handles issues of freedom of expression and the right to protest. On one hand, the police say they are maintaining order and protecting sensitive areas. On the other hand, citizens are saying they just want to express themselves peacefully. It's that balance between security and freedom that always brings these kinds of clashes. Now, we can't deny that Sowore has always been a bold figure. He's known for challenging power and questioning authority. That's one reason why many people see him as a symbol of courage. But others feel like sometimes he crosses the line. They say activism should be done within the law, not outside it. So the big debate right now is whether Sowore truly crossed that line this time or if he's just being targeted for his voice. All right, let's continue. And please, as we go on,
don't forget to like this video right now. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our real-time updates and gist. Now let's move deeper into what all this means and why it's shaking the country right now. So as we look closer, it's not just about Sowore's arrest anymore. It's becoming a test of Nigeria's democracy. A question of how the system treats people who challenge authority. Because if we think about it well, Sowore is not just any person. He's someone who has always stood in the spotlight, calling for change, speaking for ordinary citizens, and demanding accountability from the government. So, when someone like that is arrested, it raises questions. Is it really about law and order, or is it about silencing voices that make the powerful uncomfortable? Now, the police, of course, are trying to make it clear that this is not personal. They're saying, we're not fighting Sowore. We're just enforcing the law. And to be fair, they have the right to enforce the law. But people are asking, how consistent is that enforcement? Because there are cases where other people break the law and nothing happens. So Nigerians are asking, is there fairness in how the law is applied? Or is it used more against those who criticize the government? And that's where the bigger picture comes in. Many activists and lawyers are saying that if we keep seeing these kinds of arrests, especially when they involve protests or human rights issues, then people will begin to fear speaking up. And when citizens are afraid to speak up, democracy becomes weaker. That's what a lot of commentators are saying now. Now, let's also look at this from the side of the police and security agencies. They've always had a difficult job. Imagine being in charge of maintaining peace in a country as large and diverse as Nigeria. It's not an easy task. They have to balance keeping people safe while allowing them to exercise their rights. But sometimes that balance gets lost. And when it does, the situation becomes tense. Now, in this particular case, the police have fixed October 29th as the date when Sowore, along with Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer, his brother, and about 11 others will appear in court. That means this story is far from over. Nigerians are waiting to see what will happen in that courtroom. Will Sowore be released on bail? Will the charges stick? Or will the judge rule that the protest was lawful and the arrest unnecessary? Please, before we go further, do me a favor, like this video if you haven't yet. It really helps us to reach more people. And also subscribe so that anytime we drop updates like this, you'll be the first to know. Now, continuing, some legal experts have already started speaking about what could happen in court. They say the main issue will be whether the police can prove that there was a valid court order still in place at the time of the protest.
Because if that order had expired, then Sowore's team might argue that he did nothing wrong. Another key issue will be the place of arrest, because arresting someone inside the court could be seen as disrespectful to the judiciary. That's something that might not sit well with many judges, and as all this is going on, Nnamdi Kanu's case itself continues to attract attention.
People are watching to see whether his prolonged detention will finally come to an end or if there will be more legal battles ahead. So you see, all these stories are connected. The Sowore protest, the call for Kanu's release, and the wider conversation about rights and justice in Nigeria. And now, let's talk about the public reaction. Nigerians on social media are divided. Some people are supporting Sowore, saying he's standing up for justice and freedom. They believe that his arrest shows how hard it is to speak the truth in the country. Others are saying he should have followed the law if there was indeed a valid order in place. They argue that if you're calling for change, you should do it responsibly and not go against court orders. It's a tough conversation because both sides make strong points. But at the end of the day,
what everyone agrees on is that no matter who is involved, the law should be applied fairly and everyone should be treated equally. Let's pause again for a second. If you're still with me and you're enjoying this gist, please take one moment to like the video, subscribe, and drop your opinion in the comments below. Do you think Sowore is being targeted, or do you think he actually broke the law? I really want to hear your thoughts. Now, as we move toward the end of this story, it's important to understand the possible outcomes. If the court finds that Sowore did not break any law, then he could be released, and that might even make his voice louder. But if the court says the police were right, then Sowore might face some penalties. Though, of course, his lawyers can always appeal.
the coming days will tell us a lot about how Nigeria handles freedom of expression. Will the justice system stand strong and fair, or will it bend under pressure? That's what everyone will be watching on October 29th. And while this is happening, there's also the question of how the government will handle similar protests in the future. Will they allow peaceful gatherings if people want to express themselves, or will they keep using court orders to restrict such actions? These are questions we should all be thinking about because they affect every citizen. Now, Sowore himself has not stopped talking. Even from detention, his team keeps releasing statements saying he will not be silenced, and that what's happening to him is proof that Nigeria still has a long way to go when it comes to protecting the rights of citizens. And honestly,
when you look at it, he's not the only activist who has faced challenges like this. We've seen other human rights defenders go through similar situations. So this story is not just about one man, it's about how Nigeria treats those who speak truth to power.
Today, Sowore has been arrested by the Nigerian Police force. And you would ask, why was he arrested? It is very simple. The 13 people that were arrested previously all gave their statements, and there is a constant in all of their statements. Every one of them mentions that one Omoyele Sowore led them into the restricted area in contravention of the court order. So it would be most unfair to charge some people to court and leave the person that led them to commit that more like their leader, the lead protester who told them and took them into the restricted area. And that's why in the spirit of fair play and to ensure that justice is served, Omoyele Sowore was arrested today, and like the other story, he wouldn't spend time with us, he wouldn't spend up to 24 hours with us. Once we wrap up the charges, he's going to be prosecuted. In fact, if everything goes right, our plan is to ensure that he is prosecuted today, he goes to court today. About the Nnamdi Kanu protest and what's the latest on it, you would remember that 8 people were arrested on Monday in the Transcorp area of Abuja. They were arrested because they contravened the court order that restricted movement within those areas. Despite several warnings to them not to move into the restricted area, they charged headlong into the area, and like we warned 2 days before the protest, in our statement that anybody that contravenes the order will be arrested and prosecuted. So, like one, we actually got them arrested, and 5 others around Ministry of Finance also within the restricted area, bringing them to 2013, and they were arraigned the very next day. They didn't spend up to 24 hours in our custody. They were arraigned the very next day, and they've been remanded. Mostly gun running. That's what we have. The times we had kidnappers and all of that in our